Hey everyone, welcome back to Windows Seat Studies. I hope you all are doing well. So, we started discussing about immunology, where we learned about what is immunity, what are the different types of immune system that we possess. So, we learned about innate immunity, which we have since birth, and we also learned about adaptive immunity, which we develop over the time due to the exposure to different experiences, to different pathogens, right? So, we learned about both of those and the cellular components and humoral components of both of those innate as well as the adaptive immune systems. Then we started discussing about cells of immune system. For that, we learned about how the mature blood cells they get generated from the hematopoietic stem cells in the bone marrow and in the peripheral tissue. So we learned about the process of hematopoiesis, the process of generation of blood from the hematopoietic stem cells. Then we discussed about all of those cells which are the part of immune system in detail, their characteristics, their morphology, their roles, how they get activated and how they mediate the killing of the pathogen. We talked about all of the stuff in the previous lectures. Today we are going to discuss about the primary lymphoid organ, bone marrow. So we have discussed about thymus in previous lecture. So we discussed about the lymphoid organs, the organs which are going to provide the environment for the generation of immune cells, as well as they are going to be the sites where the immune response will be generated. And based on those two jobs, they are categorized into different organs, such as the primary lymphoid organs and the secondary lymphoid organs. So the primary lymphoid organs are the sites, the organs of the which are the part of the immune system, which are going to be the site for the generation and the maturation of blood cells, not blood cell, the immune cells. So here the immune cells they are going to get developed, the B cells and T cells. So immunocompetent cells will be generated and they will mature in those primary lymphoid organs. So the examples of primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus. So thymus is the organ where the T cells they are going to get matured. So the T cell precursor cells they will be formed in the bone marrow and they travel to the thymus, and at the time in this site at the thymus they are going to get mature. Then there are secondary lymphoid organs where all of the mature immune cells they are going to initiate immune responses. Those immunocompetent cells they will get activated due to the antigenic reactions. So those sites are lymph nodes, spleen, and the mucosal associated lymphoid tissue. So we will be discussing about them in separate lecture. Today we are only going to focus on the bone marrow. So today we are going to discuss about bone marrow in detail. So we have already discussed that bone marrow is the site where the all of the immune cells will be generated, and this is the site where the hematopoietic stem cells reside. So we discussed that one cell in each 50,000 cells in bone marrow is the hematopoietic stem cell. So hematopoietic stem cell is going to give rise to the different lineages to which the immune cells belong. So hematopoietic stem cells they will get differentiated into the myeloid progenitor and the common lymphoid progenitor, and those progenitor cells they are going to give rise to the precursor cells of the immune system, such as the granulocyte monocyte progenitor. It will also give rise to the eosinophil progenitor, the erythroid progenitor. So all of those progenitor cells, they will give rise to the immune cells or to the blood cells, such as RBC, such as platelets. So this hematopoietic stem cells, they reside in bone marrow, and here they are going to get mature, and they will get matured in the progenitor cells, and those progenitor cells they will be circulated in the blood and they will form the mature blood cells. That is why bone marrow is very important for the generation and for generation of immune cells, not only immune cells but also for generation of blood cells. So that is why this is also referred as factory of blood and immune cells. So not only immunocompetent cells are going to get mature here, but blood cells will also be formed in the bone marrow. We have discussed about hematopoiesis in detail, so please refer to that lecture for a better understanding about the blood formation. So I told you in the previous lecture that lymphoid organs are the organs where the immunocompetent cells will be generated, they will be mature, or they are going to start the immune responses. So by immunocompetent cells, I mean these are the cells which will get activated due to the antigenic interaction, and now they are going to mediate the pathogen killing. So immunocompetent cells are the B cells, the T cells, as well as natural killer cells. They are also referred as immunocompetent cells. But basically, B cells and T cells, which are the lymphocytes. So major part is of the immunocompetent cells is the lymphocytes. So those lymphocytes will be matured. They will be generated in those lymphoid organs, and that is why they are referred as lymphoid organs, means the organs where lymphocytes will be generated, they will be matured, or they are going to initiate the response, the immune responses. So the bone marrow, which is a primary lymphoid organ, this organ is also responsible for generation. This means it is responsible for generation and maturation of the immunocompetent cell. So the B cells, they get mature here. They are generated and they get mature. But alongside B cells, the T cell precursors, they are also found they are also found in the bone marrow. So in bone marrow, from the hematopoietic stem cells, the B cells will be generated, they will get matured, and they are going to do their job. And in the bone marrow, in the same site, hematopoietic stem cells, they are going to give rise to the T cell precursor. But the maturation of those T cell precursor, that will be seen in thymus, and that is why thymus is also referred as primary lymphoid organ. And that this thymocytes, the cells of thymus, they are going to get differentiated to, and they are going to form the T cells, and that is why the T cells, they are called as T cells because of the thymus, right? So we talked about how the B cells, this name originated. So this B cells, they were found to be, to be originated from the organ, from a specialized organ found in the birds, which is known as bursa of Fabricius. And this bursa of Fabricius forms, it generates, and this is the primary site for generation and maturation of B cells, and that is why the name B. But in the humans, in the mammals, bone marrow is the site where the B cells are going to they are going to generate, and they are going to get matured there. So bone marrow is a really, really special site for the hematopoietic stem cells, because stem cells, as I told you, they have a capacity of self renewing themselves, means they are going to regenerate themselves. So what happens is that the cells, okay, let's say that this is any cell, and I'm not talking about a stem cell right now. This is a normal cell that resides in our body. So this is going to, this cell follows a cell cycle in its lifespan. So it is going to undergo G1 phase, then it will undergo, the synthesis phase, then it will undergo the G2 phase. All of them are the preparatory phases for the division, and then it is going to it is going to show the M phase, means it is going to undergo the division. Okay, and this whole cell cycle will be followed again and again to give rise to the, to the daughter cells, to the multiple cells, which are again going to follow the same procedure, undergoing G1, S, G2 phase, and again giving rise to the two daughter cells or the four daughter cells, depending upon whether it's meiosis or mitosis. Okay, so this is the basic cell cycle which will be followed by a normal cell. But on the contrary, the cell which exists this whole cell cycle stage, and it enters into a quiescent stage, which is also referred as Q. okay, which is a resting stage where basically the cell does its own job, but it, does not undergo the division. That quiescent stage is what we refer as the stem cell stage. Means the stem cells, the hematopoietic stem cells, basically, because we are discussing about them here. So they are in their quiescent stage. So this stage is where the cell is, it is kind of in its own form, but it is not undergoing the DNA replication. It is not undergoing the preparatory phases for the division, because it is not, the job is not to undergo proliferation. So the hematopoietic stem cells, for being in this quiescent stage, for being in this undifferentiated stage, they stay in the bone marrow, and bone marrow provides a nice microenvironment for that. And that microenvironment in bone marrow or in any tissue for those stem cells to live there and to thrive there is known as stem cell niche. Okay, so bone marrow is the, it is the organ, or it is the tissue, it is a soft and spongy tissue where the hematopoietic stem cells, they are going to live there. And that is possible because bone marrow provides a stem cell niche for the hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, so what is stem cell niche? In order to sum up, stem cell niche is, it is the anatomical structure which has a nice structural organization accordingly, so that the stem cells, they can live there. For, stem cells, for maintaining their properties of self renewing themselves, means they can, they can regenerate themselves. So this particular stem cell, okay, it is undifferentiated one, okay, because stem cells are undifferentiated. They are not, committed to certain lineage, they are not committed to certain cell type. So this stem cell, if it is an adult stem cell, okay, adult stem cells such as the hematopoietic stem cell, which is a really which is a model or a typical example for for an adult stem cell. So this adult stem cell, this is not committed to any lineage. This can, in future it can commit to any lineage. It can either commit to myeloid lineage, it can commit to lymphoid lineage. So it can form any type of the cell type, so it can form any cell type in future, but right now it's not committed to any type. Means it is in its, stem cell condition. So this is, in its undifferentiated condition. So for the cell to remain in this condition, to not be committed to any cell lineage, we need to provide it a micro environment. Okay, it's similar to us humans. We need a nice environment for able to thrive, for being able to develop and grow over the time. To be able to achieve something, we need an environment. Okay, so let's say you are studying for CSIR-NET, let's say. So you need an environment for being able to study. You need environment. You need your desk, you need your libraries, you need a nice environment, stress-free environment, where you only focus over your exam preparation, and then you're going to crack your exam. In the same way, the stem cells, to be able to live, normally the cells, they undergo multiple division cycles, and they age, and then they undergo the apoptosis. But stem cells, they do not have this particular phenomena. They can, they can proliferate enormously if the signaling is if that type of signal is, given to them. So for stem cells, to maintain their stemness, okay, for the stem cells to maintain their stem cell like properties, they need a microenvironment, and that particular microenvironment is known as stem cell niche. So stem cell niche, to be, if we define the stem cell niche, then it's the, ability for, it's the microenvironment where the stem cell, it has the ability to self renew and differentiate depending upon the cellular function, depending upon the structural organization of that particular anatomical area. So in simple words, the stem cell niche is the specialized area which supports and controls, the activity of the stem cells. So this specialized area has a cells known as stromal cells, which are going to support the differentiation of those stem cells. They are going to control the differentiation of stem cells. So for stem cells, for hematopoietic stem cells specifically, for being them, so for those hematopoietic stem cells to be able to differentiate into certain lineages or to maintain their own stemness, to maintain their stem like property, they require a stem cell niche, and that stem cell niche is provided by the bone marrow. That microenvironment is provided by the bone marrow, and that is why the stem hematopoietic stem cells, they are found in the bone marrow. So this bone marrow has multiple cells such as osteoblasts, such as reticular cells, which are going to help those hematopoietic stem cells to decide to which lineage they are going to commit. So they are going to help, okay, for this particular generation. So let's say that this is the hematopoietic stem cell. So you are going to give rise to the two daughter cells. So now this stem cell niche is going to decide whether that particular daughter cell is going to commit to certain lineage, okay, or it is going to again form hematopoietic stem cell. So this will be decided by the particular niche that adult stem cell is in. Okay, so there are two stem cell niches that are present in the bone marrow. The one of them, it motivates, it promotes the hematopoietic stem cell to maintain its stem-like property, and other stem cell niche is the one where the hematopoietic stem cells, they will be committed to certain lineages. So the commitment to the certain lineage will be promoted in other stem cell niches. So we are still understanding our, we are still developing our understanding about the stem cell niches that are found in the bone marrow. So a lot of studies are still undergoing about that, but from whatever we have, we have understood, so whatever evidences we have, they all of them suggest that there are two particular stem cell niches present in the bone marrow at the different sites. So those stem cell niches are known as endosteal niche and the vascular niche. I'll come to those niches in a while. Before that, I'd like to tell you about stromal cells. So I told you that those stem cell niches are the microenvironments, right? So they are the particular anatomical areas which has a nice structural organization, and which has structural organization which is going to help the decision of whether commitment or decision to maintain the stemness according to the cellular function. So those microenvironments need something, some cells which are going to control that, control or support the those whatever decision that a stem cell is going to take. So that cells are known as stromal cells. So stem cell niche basically consists of obviously the stem cells, and for those stem cells to grow and thrive, you always need a supporter, you need a helper cell, and those helper cells are known as stromal cells. Okay, so in bone marrow, so this is, I'm talking about stem cell niche in general, but in the bone marrow, the stromal cells means the helper cells, or the cells which are going to control or support the decision taken by the hematopoietic stem cells. Those cells are the different, such as reticular cells, such as osteoblast cells. So I'll be talking about those cells and how they help in the differentiation of the hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, so the stromal cells, they are the helper cells. They are which who are going, and these are specialized cells which are going to control the differentiation of hematopoietic stem cells, or they are going to support the stemness of the hematopoietic stem cells. So the stromal cells, these are the ones. Okay, these are going to control or support differentiation of stem cells, and in this particular case we are talking about hematopoietic stem cells, right? So a network of stromal cells, it is found in the stem cell niches which are present in the bone marrow, and this particular network of stromal cells, it secretes or it expresses the soluble proteins, and it also expresses some membrane bound proteins. So the stromal cells, how does it, the stromal cell has the job to create that nice environment, that nice microenvironment for the stem cells to thrive. Take it as this example of your university and you as a student studying in that university. So the job of university is to help you to thrive under their, the facilities there. The university is going to provide you the facilities for you to study nicely, and so what does university do? It is going to create the nice hostel environment for you to study there and to be able to relax there, and it is going to provide you with the library so that you can go and you can search for the books and you can read all of those books. The university has the job to provide the Wi-Fi as well, so that you can search, you can go on internet and you can gain a lot of knowledge. The university will also promote you to go to participate in the debates, in the conferences, so that whatever knowledge you have, that will be that will always thrive, that will always grow, that will always develop over the time. So whatever help you need, that help will be given, or whatever support you need, that will be given by the university where you are studying. In the same way, so university is going to create that environment, that nice environment, the study environment for you, so that you will achieve something, you will achieve your goal, that you are you have aimed you are aiming for. So in the same way, the stromal cells, they resemble to the university. So stromal cells are the helpers, so it's just like university. So they are going to create that nice microenvironment for the stem cells to be able to live there and to be able to thrive there. So the university, how does it create that microenvironment? By by providing you the facilities of having a hostel, of having library, of having a nice sitting area, a reading area, the reading tables, the Wi-Fi. So all of those facilities that will be provided, that are going to create the microenvironment for you to study. In the same way, stromal cells, it also secretes the soluble proteins, or it also expresses the membrane-bound proteins. So these are the ones which are going to help in creating those microenvironment for the stem cells to grow. So the stromal cells, they will secrete, or they will express the soluble proteins, as well as they are going to express the membrane-bound proteins. Okay, so they are going to secrete those soluble proteins and membrane-bound proteins, which will, act as the signaling molecules or the receptors. And this particular job, which will be done by the soluble proteins and membrane-bound proteins, that will help into that particular cell proliferation or the differentiation or simply the survival. So those soluble proteins or membrane-bound proteins that are expressed by the stromal cell, they are going to result into supporting or regulating the cell survival, the cell proliferation, cell differentiation, or even the cell trafficking or the molecular trafficking. Okay, so all of those, they are going to help to create a microenvironment which is going to which will be regulating all those stuff. Okay, so this is how the stem cell niche is very important for any stem cell to thrive, and this is how the stromal cells will be helping to maintain that microenvironment. So as I already mentioned, that this stem cell niches, so those niches, there are different types of niches in the bone marrow, and those, they are also known as micro niches or the microenvironments. So there's this, the whole bone marrow kind of supports the hematopoietic stem cells. But again, now hematopoietic stem cell has to take two choices, right? Either committing to certain lineage or staying hematopoietic stem cells. So for for those particular jobs, there will be two microenvironments. Okay, again, take the example of university. So university is going to provide you environment not only for studying, but only for also for relaxation. Because eventually, if your mind is relaxed, this is going to help you for studying and for being able to achieve your goal. Okay, the goal doesn't matter. It could be it could be developing your personality. The goal could be aiming for a certain job. So your goal, your personal goal could be any. So in the same way, hematopoietic stem cell, it is aiming for either commitment to certain lineage, or it is aiming for simply the proliferation and maintaining its own stem cell like properties. So whatever decision, whatever goal of hematopoietic stem cell is, that is the choice of hematopoietic stem cell. But for the choice to be, for hematopoietic stem cell to take that choice, we need to provide the stromal cells or the bone marrow is, it is going to provide the different areas which will be specialized and which will be having a specialized microenvironment which is going to promote the hematopoietic stem cells towards a simple a singular choice. Okay, so let's say that the university has different areas. It will have the sport facilities, it will have the debate facilities, it will also have the study facilities. So let's take an example of clubs, the different clubs that are existing in your university, in your institute. So you have academic clubs, you have extracurricular clubs, you have sports clubs. So all those three clubs, they give you choice to have, to thrive in particular field. Sports clubs are giving you choice to be a good sportsman, or the academic clubs are giving you choice to, to flaunt your academic skills, to flaunt your academic knowledge, whatever you want to do, the fun activities you want to do regarding your biology, chemistry, physics, whatever academics you want to pursue. That particular environment will be provided by the academic clubs. Okay, so this particular clubs are kind of the stem cell niches, the micro environments which will be provided by your university, means by the bone marrow, to the hematopoietic stem cells, means the students. So if you know, from the first year, second year, third year onwards, you are the person who who has participated in a lot of activities regarding academics, or you're the person who has been participating in a lot of sports which have been, which are being regulated by the sports club. So over the time, you are going to develop that particular personality, you are going to develop that particular perspective, so you are getting differentiated into that particular field, into that particular area. Why? Because of the environment which is being provided by you. So if let's say that you are, you are a part, or you are a member of a debating society, so you are going to always you are going to always take participate into the debate competitions. So this is how the microenvironment you are residing in, that matters a lot. In the same way, if the hematopoietic stem cells, they are residing in the niche which is, which is promoting the idea of committing to certain lineage, then that hematopoietic stem cells, they are going to stay there, they are going to get matured, and they are going to form the mature cells, the B cells, they are going to form the T cell precursors over there. Or let's say that the a particular stem cell niche, it is going to provide a microenvironment to, to, so that the hematopoietic stem cells are getting the signal that now, instead of committing to certain lineage, proliferate and maintain and renew yourself, means maintain your stem cell like property. So they are only going to regenerate themselves, they are only going to proliferate. So this depends on the particular stem cell niche which is a part of the bone marrow. So the bone marrow has two, whatever studies we have done, we have shown that, to all those evidences shows that in the bone marrow there are main two particular stem cell niches. So there are two main stem cell niches which are going to promote the particular choices by the hematopoietic stem cells. So those stem cell niches, as I already discussed, are endosteal niche, and there is vascular niche. Okay, so endosteal niche is the one which is, which is a particular area. This niche is the area surrounding the bone and the osteoblast. So this endosteal niche is associated. So this particular area is in close association with osteoblast. Okay. Osteoblasts are the bone forming cells. I hope you have learned about this in your high school level, that there are two cells, the osteocytes, which are the which are the mature bone cells. Then there are osteoblasts, which are going to result into generation of bone, and then there are osteoclasts, which are basically the macrophages, which are going to do the phagocytosis, and which are going to help into reabsorption of those bone cells. So the osteoblasts are the ones which are which are present in the bone marrow, and this whatever area is there surrounding the bone and surrounding those osteoblasts, the area which is in close association with osteoblast, that particular area provides a niche known as endosteal niche to the obviously to the hematopoietic stem cells. So this area is associated with the osteoblast, so this is area surrounding the bone, whereas vascular niche is the area surrounding the blood vessels. Okay, so this is the area surrounding the blood vessels, and this particular area is in close association with the endothelial cells. Okay, because this is the area surrounding blood vessels, and blood vessels, they are lined up with the cells known as endothelial cells. So this are the area which is in close association with the endothelial cells, that area provides a niche, provides a nice environment, which is known as vascular niche. Okay, so this in the endosteal niche. Okay, what happens in the endosteal niche, the whatever hematopoietic stem cells which are residing in the endosteal niche, they are going to be stay in the quiescent stage. So the all of this quiescent, okay, just let me change that. Okay, all of the quiescent hematopoietic stem cells are there in the bone marrow. They are going to reside in the endosteal stage. Quiescent hematopoietic stem cells means the undifferentiated hematopoietic stem cells, means they have their stem cell like property. So those quiescent hematopoietic stem cells means which are not undergoing any proliferation right now, and they have their stem cell like property. So those type of hematopoietic stem cells, they will be in the area where the osteoblast resides. Okay, whereas the so we can also call them immature kind of hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, not exactly immature. Okay, just ignore that part, but we can call them quiescent hematopoietic stem cells. Whereas the stem cells which want to either differentiate, means they want to commit to certain lineage, they are going to found into the vascular niche, because this niche is near the blood vessels, near the endothelial cells, and endothelial cells, they kind of promote the differentiation of hematopoietic stem cells. So the hematopoietic stem cells which are found in vascular niche, these are known as mobilized, because they are not residing in the bone, right, in the bone marrow, and that is why they are known as mobilized hematopoietic stem cells. So those mobilized hematopoietic stem cells, they are going to move from the bone marrow to the blood vessels, because basically they are in the vascular niche, right? So they are going to move from the bone marrow to the blood vessels, and when they move to the blood vessels, now they are going to either they are going to make two choices. Either they are going to simply differentiate into the blood cells or the immune cells. They're going to make the choice now when they are there in the vascular niche, when they are mobilized into the blood vessels. Either they are going to get differentiated, or they are going to just get circulated. So this discovery helped researchers a lot, because first we used to thought that all of the hematopoietic stem cells, they are residing in the bone marrow only. So when they are in the bone marrow, for any patient who has, let's say, cancer, or who is in dire need of those hematopoietic stem cells, because let's assume that the platelet counts has decreased, or let's say due to the chemotherapy, or the blood cells, they are dying. So the particular patient is undergoing chemotherapy or undergoing radiation therapy due to the cancer, and that patient now needs the hematopoietic stem cells, because new blood cells needs to be generated, and new immune cells needs to be generated in that patient. So that patient is in dire need of the hematopoietic stem cells. So first, researchers used to think that the researchers thought that those are, first evidences. All of them suggested that all of those hematopoietic stem cells, first of all, they are rare and they are found only in the bone marrow. So the previously in the past, the process of bone marrow, bone marrow removal from the donor and and transfer of this bone marrow to the, to the patient, which we refer as bone marrow transplant. So this process is, invasive. But when the researchers, they got to know that the hematopoietic stem cells, they can slip out of the bone marrow and they can get circulated in the blood vessels. They can found in the circulation. That helped a lot, both the researchers as well as the patients, because the bone marrow transplant, taking out the bone marrow using a needle from the patient, it is an invasive process. So any invasive process is, it possesses a lot of dangers. There are a lot of threats to the patient, and again, this process is very tricky and a long procedure. But simply finding that the hematopoietic stem cells, they are found in the circulation, helped researchers a lot, because first of all, the donor has now choice to not undergo this invasive process of taking out bone marrow and simply donating the blood. So a donor can donate the blood, and this donated blood can, we can separate the cells present in this blood, the donor blood, and we can, concentrate all of those cells into the progenitor cells. So those progenitor cells will have the, the more differentiated hematopoietic stem cells, which are, already committed to certain lineage. And then we will also have the hematopoietic stem cells. So just by donating blood, which is not that invasive process, the patient is also relieved, and the researchers and the doctors which are taking out that blood, they are also relieved. But this particular cells which are taken out from the blood directly, which are segregated from the blood, they are rich in the progenitor cells as well as the hematopoietic stem cells. So this is kind of double-edged sword. It can help the patient as well as it can hurt the patient. First of all, help. How does it help? Obviously, because it has hematopoietic stem cells. So the blood cells which were killed due to the chemotherapy or due to the radiation therapy. So now whatever pool was there, which was, depleted, now that pool is being replenished, and that pool is being replenished with the help of hematopoietic stem cells. So the patient has now the mother of all of the cells, hematopoietic stem cells, which will give rise to the new cells. So this is how that is going to help the patient, obviously, and that is why we are doing the stem cell transplant in the patient. So that this stem cells transplant, which is taken from the, blood circulation, this helps in this particular way. Again, the progenitor cells, which are which are more mature compared to the hematopoietic stem cell, they can be readily available, and they can readily, fight the infection. Let's say that this is not a case of chemotherapy, but this is a case of infection. So this progenitor cells, or the mature cells which we have taken out from the blood, they are going to serve as, ready weapons for against that pathogen for that particular patient. So that is also going to help. But this can also hurt the patient, because this can, induce the graft versus host syndrome, the graft versus host disease, because those mature cells, again, they express those molecules which belong to that particular individual. So this can induce the graft versus host disease. So this is how the stem cell transplant, which we have taken from the circulation, from the blood circulation, the stem cell transplant serves as a double-edged sword, which can help the patient and it can hurt the patient. But this is for sure that the discovery that the hematopoietic stem cells, they can slip into the circulation, that helped researchers a lot, as well as the patients who are, who want to donate their bone marrow, so they can easily donate their blood, and that donated blood can be used for many purposes. So this definitely helped humans a lot. But the so what point I was trying to make here was that hematopoietic stem cells, they are not just present in the bone marrow, but they can, circulate in the blood. So they can circulate in all over body, and they can reach to the particular tissue where there is need, and they can again, reach that particular tissue, and they can proliferate there if the niche, that particular niche is provided to them. So, so hematopoietic stem cells, they can slip into the circulation as well. So they are found in the bone marrow. So we can say that bone marrow is pool for the hematopoietic stem cells, but they can also be found in the circulation. But this is a given fact that they are very rare in the circulation, but we can find them in the circulation in particular conditions. So this so those are now those stem cells which are mobilized, those hematopoietic stem cells which are mobilized, they can either, get differentiated into this circulation, or they can simply circulate. So they can still maintain their hematopoietic stem cell like property, and they can circulate in all over the blood. So again, this is how the choice of being of differentiating or staying just in circulation, that will be done by the hematopoietic stem cell in the vascular niche. So these are the, so whatever we have studied till now, we just understand this much about those niches. The endosteal niche is, it is going to have the quiescent hematopoietic stem cells, whereas the vascular niche, which is near the blood vessels, which is, rich in the endothelial cells, it has mobilized hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, so the, I told you that the stromal cells in this stem cell niche, they are going to help the, the hematopoietic stem cells into differentiation or maintaining whatever choice they are taking. They are deciding whatever, uh, either to commit certain lineage or to stay as hematopoietic stem cell. Whatever choice this hematopoietic stem cell has taken, that will be supported, that will be regulated by those stromal cells, because the stromal cells, basically they are the ones which are creating this microenvironment. So the stromal cells, they are coordinating the hematopoietic stem development, and those stromal cells, they are present in all of the tissues where the stem cells reside. But in, so right now we are discussing about bone marrow, right? So in adult bone marrow, there are few cells which are going to coordinate this hematopoietic stem development, and I'm going to list them down here for you. So these cells which are going to, coordinate the hematopoietic stem cell developments are, first of all, have already discussed about this, is the osteoblasts. Okay, which are, the bone generating cells, but they will also control the differentiation of hematopoietic stem cells. Then there are the reticular cells. Okay, so reticular cells are specialized mesenchymal stromal cells. Okay, so those mesenchymal stromal cells, they are also found in bone marrow. So what do? They stretch out their processes and their processes, and they make they make the physical contact between the different cells and the bones, as well as the blood vessels and the bones. So reticular cells, they physically connect those different cells, bones, and the blood vessels. So reticular cells, they are also the cells which are going to coordinate into the hematopoietic stem cell development. Then there are endothelial cells that I already discussed, which are the part of the vascular niche. So the endothelial cells, they also help in hematopoietic cell differentiation. Okay, so basically they are not regulating hematopoietic stem cell differentiation, but they are rather promoting the hematopoietic stem cell differentiation, whereas osteoblasts are regulating the hematopoietic stem cell differentiation. Then surprisingly, there are the fourth cells that I'm going to discuss. They are really surprising that they are helping into the hematopoietic stem cell development, and those are sympathetic, sympathetic neurons. So we already know that the sympathetic neurons, they control the fight or flight situation. So sympathetic neurons, surprisingly, they also control the hematopoietic stem cells. So, but they do not control the hematopoietic stem cells which are residing in bone marrow. Rather, they control the hematopoietic stem cells which are released from the bone marrow to the blood. So we can say that sympathetic neurons, they control these mobilized hematopoietic stem cells, and they'll help them, or they'll support them to make their choices. So these are the different stromal cells, or these are the different cells, simply the cells which are going to help into the hematopoietic stem cells development. So this is the crux about the bone marrow. This is what the bone marrow, how the bone marrow helps in the hematopoietic stem cells development. So once those hematopoietic stem cells develop, they are either going to form the immunocompetent cells such as B cells, or they are going to form the T cell precursors. Again, those bone marrow cells, they will form other progenitors. We have already discussed this in the hematopoiesis lecture. Please refer to that. So all of those precursor cells, they will slip into the circulation and they will form the blood cells there. Okay, so that is why bone marrow, it is the primary lymphoid organ, and it is also known as the factory for blood. So this takes parts in hematopoiesis as well as into immune cells generation. So this is a really important point. So this bone marrow, I did not talk about bone marrow much. So we will talk about histology of bone. I'll talk about all of those cells, osteocytes, osteoblasts, and osteoclasts there. And then I'll talk about histology of bone marrow as well. But for your intro of kind of information, bone marrow is a soft and spongy tissue which is present in those cavity of the bone. Okay, so this let's say that this so this is bone. Let's say this. Okay, just a second. So let's say that this is a bone, okay? And in this bone, okay, in this bone, there is, the bone which is very strong and which seems very strong. It is actually a porous tissue. So this is a porous tissue, and in this porous tissue, in the center, on the tips, there exists a soft and spongy tissue, which is referred as bone marrow. So this bone marrow is of two types: the red bone marrow and the yellow bone marrow. So the bone marrow, which is present in the central sinusoids of the bone, it is known as yellow bone marrow. Whereas the red bone marrow is present somewhere here, and this red bone marrow is the active hematopoietic tissue. Means the red bone marrow is going to it is going to result into hematopoiesis, whereas yellow bone marrow, it basically has adipocytes. Okay, the cells which are going to store the fat. So why is it important? Because this fat storage is going to serve as an energy storage. So it is going to serve as energy source for those proliferating cells. So energy source is also important, and that is why yellow bone marrow has those adipocytes, whereas the red bone marrow is the active hematopoietic tissue. Means here the process of production of RBC, WBC, platelets will be done. So all of the blood cells and immune cells will be generated from the red bone marrow. So these are the two types of bone marrow which are present in the bones. And okay, so bone marrow is present in all of the bones. Okay, but the active sites for the hematopoiesis, means the red bone marrow containing bones, are the long bones such as femur or humerus, and they are the flat bones such as the sternum, or it could be the large bones such as the pelvic bones, or even in the vertebrae the bone marrow is present. So the point I wanted to focus on was that bone marrow, it is present in all bones. Okay, but the active sites for hematopoiesis, there are few, such as the long bones such as femur. Okay, so active bone marrow, active hematopoietic sites are femur, long bones such as femur. It doesn't have E. So femur, then there's humerus. Okay, then there's ilium, which is a pelvic bone, as well as sternum, the flat bones like sternum. Okay, so all of them, they are the active sites for hematopoiesis. So with this, I'm done with the lecture. I've discussed about bone marrow. Okay, yeah, one more thing, one more point, that this bone marrow, remember I talked about atrophy of thymus. So the thymus tissue is replaced by the fatty tissue over the time, as the human ages, right? In the same way, bone marrow also, the cells, the tissue of this tissue, bone marrow, it is also replaced by this fat cells. Almost 50 or more than 50% of the bone marrow gets replaced as the person ages with the fat cells. And so now the fat cells, they do not have the property of hematopoiesis. So this results into weakening of the immunity over the time, and that is why the older people, they have weak immunity compared to the younger people. So because they do not have the capability of regenerating their cells, they do not have enough pool of the hematopoietic stem cells compared to the younger people. So the 50 or more than 50% of bone marrow cells, they will be replaced with the fat cells as the human ages, at the individual ages. So with this, I'm done. I have discussed everything about bone marrow in detail, and how the bone marrow is a primary lymphoid organ, how it is providing the niche, the stem cell niche for hematopoietic stem cells to live and thrive. So with this, I'm done with the primary lymphoid organs. We have discussed both bone and thymus. In next lecture, we will start discussing about secondary lymphoid organs such as spleen. First, we'll cover spleen, then we'll talk about lymph nodes. We'll have a kind of overview about lymphatic system, and we'll talk about lymph nodes, and we'll also discuss about the MALT, the mucosal associated tissue. So we are done with the primary lymphoid organs. We'll discuss about the secondary lymphoid organs. Till then, see you. Bye bye.